Welcome to Skyword Social, a webinar for writers interested in increasing their freelance business through social media. I'm Juliana Casale, a member of Skyword's Writer Services team, and my co-host today is Joseline Mane, founder of Boston TweetUp. As I'm sure you've noticed, social media has become a huge part of our everyday lives. People are tweeting their reactions during presidential debates, posting funny cat videos on YouTube, and sharing photos of their food with friends on Instagram. While these channels have great entertainment value, they also provide an amazing opportunity for writers who want to get their work in front of a larger audience. On the flip side, clients are beginning to request freelancers who know how to share socially because they bring an added boost of page views and brand awareness. So being able to navigate social media is really a win-win scenario. Today we're going to spend some time covering the basics of LinkedIn and Twitter, discussing the best uses of each channel, and giving you step-by-step instructions on how to share your work. We'll also touch on how you can tie your social media accounts together to form a cohesive personal brand and other ways to get attention from prospective clients. LinkedIn began as a networking tool for professionals, which makes it an excellent space for showcasing your writing samples and work experience. Your profile serves as an online portfolio and can be a handy landing page for your business cards and email signature. You can also use the group search box to find other freelance writers and participate in discussions about topics that impact your work. Before I cover the basics of using the platform, I'd like to touch on an important point when it comes to social media. As with any writing assignment, it's critical that you keep your audience in mind. LinkedIn has a very business-like feel to it, and the things people post on it tend to be career-related, like articles covering certain industries, news updates, and job postings. If you've written articles that require a specific expertise or educational background, LinkedIn is the perfect place to share them. IBM, AutoTrader, and Thermo Fisher Scientific are good examples of Skyword writing programs that work well here. If you're writing for clients that focus on beauty, personal health, and lifestyle topics like What to Expect, Daily Glow, or Voices of Experience, Twitter is a much better fit. LinkedIn currently has more than 175 million users, so that's a lot of people who could land on your profile. The best way to start is by uploading a headshot, filling in your background information, and finding people you already know to establish connections and expand your reach. Now you may be thinking, I already have a bunch of projects on my plate. I don't need to network with new clients right now. Well, this is the perfect time for you to get started because by the time you really need new connections, it might be too late. Keep in mind that social media should be an ongoing process, not a sudden sprint. To get started on LinkedIn, you're going to need a picture. Your headshot is the first thing people see, so the more professional looking, the better. Use natural lighting, wear something nice, and smile. Here we have Angela Tague, one of our most prolific freelance writers, who has graciously agreed to be a guinea pig for the purposes of this webinar. You can see she's done a great job of selecting a friendly, approachable picture. Next we have the summary section. My advice is to treat this text box like you were talking to someone who might pick you for a freelance assignment. Under experience, fill in as many background fields as you can, especially education and employment. Only 50% of users have complete profiles as defined by LinkedIn, so getting an edge on the competition is pretty easy. Once you have your profile filled out, you're ready to start networking. There are two ways to connect with other LinkedIn users. The first method is to add people you already know by selecting Contacts on your homepage and clicking on Add Connections. From there you can import address books from several major email platforms. The second method is to find professionals you'd like to connect with using the People search box in the upper right corner and sending them a request. Now we get to the most important part, which is sharing your work. At the very top of the home section of your LinkedIn page is a space for posting articles, videos, and anything else you'd like to make public. You can choose to share your updates with your closest connections or let second and third degree circles view them as well. There's also an option to connect your Twitter account so that your LinkedIn profile updates are posted to it automatically. Your post will show up on the activity sidebar of your profile and on the homepage news feed of the connections you selected to share with. As I mentioned, LinkedIn is a great tool for posting career-related content, so I recommend linking to articles you've written about professional niche topics like medicine, science, politics, electronics, finance, and IT. To keep your feed interesting, you can also share infographics and news stories. As a pro tip, articles with strong introductions do very well in LinkedIn because the first few sentences are visible on your page. So keep that in mind when you're submitting assignments that you think you might share. Once you've established your LinkedIn account, you can use the search bar on your homepage to find and join groups with interests similar to yours. Some groups will automatically accept you as a member, and others require review from a moderator. My favorite writing-related groups are Freelance Professionals, Freelance Writers Inc., and Publishing and Editing Professionals, but there are dozens to pick from. Another thing you can do to boost your profile is to ask for recommendations from clients who you've worked with directly. I would suggest that you only ask for recognition from clients that have indicated they love your work, because they'll be the most likely not to hit the delete button on your request. Here, our VP of Writer Services, Marianne Flynn, has left a recommendation for Angela because she won our High Flyer of the Month award. With that, I'm going to hand you over to host Celine, who will cover the wonderful world of sharing socially on Twitter.
Well, thank you very much. That was a fantastic segue. LinkedIn shall give you the foundation to actually leverage Twitter. So the first couple of slides, I just wanted to highlight a little bit about me. So as you see here on the slide, I've been pretty active. I wanted to give you an example of what a completed profile looks like on Twitter. So you obviously see my photograph, my headshot, and you also notice that I have a link to Boston Tweet up there in my bio. The bio for Twitter is 160 characters, as you see, but what I would recommend is having a bio that is keyword rich to really highlight what you want people to recognize you as. You also notice a bunch of photos that I've taken and things of that nature, but I wanted to highlight the amount of followers, or the gatherings for my profile, not only on my main page, but also for Boston Tweet Up. So I've been doing this for quite a while, so what I wanted to do in this presentation is give you the why, who, what, and lastly the how, to give you the definitive steps. So even though you might be starting now, you'll have essentially the key ingredients to grow a successful following on Twitter. So with that being said, Twitter is probably the most open platform out of all the social networks, meaning that people could find you from all over the world, and we would consider Twitter not new media but now media, because people get to know what you're thinking in real time. So it's a perfect platform for you to establish your particular brand and from there grow an authority. So one of the key ingredients to doing that is being able to disseminate information. So this is, again, highlighting some of the things that make a particular Twitter profile stand out. Juliana spoke about a complete bio on LinkedIn with a photograph and a bio and things like that. So you basically take that same information and you fill in your Twitter profile appropriately. So what I wanted to do in this slide is provide you with a sense of who to follow. Especially if you're just beginning, you might not know what to say. So I created a specific Twitter list for this webinar to give you some guidance as to who are the thought leaders in the copywriting space on Twitter. So if you actually go to either the top link, which is the Twitter /freelance-writers, there's actually a Twitter list there that you could follow. And what that allows you to do is that instead of following individuals, you could actually follow this list, and all the people from the list you get onto your into your feed so that you get to see how the most successful copywriters online and the most successful writers on Twitter are actually engaging their audience. I also simplified it for you as well, so instead of typing that entire URL at the top, you could actually type in that shorter URL. That is something that I'm going to get into a little bit later, which is a service called Bitly, and I just happen to customize mine, which you could do if you're start to get more advanced on Twitter, is to buy your own domain name and use that as a URL, which also would enhance your branding. So the other element to this slide is I put together a search, and this Twitter search is a search of the actual hashtag or the term that people are using to communicate and to speak about writing on Twitter. And as you see there, the hashtag WriteChat is actually a weekly chat that happens on Twitter that discusses various elements of writing. So if you want to find out, if you want to participate, Twitter chats are an excellent way to engage and grow a following and provide your level of expertise to a community of other writers. I'm actually going to go and highlight some of those particular chats in the upcoming slides. So to grow your following and to develop yourself as an expert in the field or a thought leader, you don't necessarily have to live on Twitter. You leverage Twitter as a way to communicate your thoughts and your expertise. Here are some examples of other places outside of just being on Twitter where you could actually leverage Twitter to your benefit. Events are one of the key components because you might attend a lot of conferences or a lot of webinars like you're attending right now. You could go to meetups or tweetups. I'm going to take a moment to basically describe what a tweetup is if you're not familiar. Tweetup is essentially a gathering of people in real life of individuals that have started their relationships on Twitter. So say myself and Juliano could be tweeting back and forth, and then I would say, hey, why don't we just go to this bar? You invite your Twitter friends, I'll invite my Twitter friends, and we'll have a writer tweet up and have a group of people that are interested in writing go to a local bar or local venue and just get together and get to know each other offline. It's a perfect way to blend the offline world with the online world, especially if the online world is a little bit intimidating for you. You could actually connect with people and get a whole demystifying approach because you're actually connecting with people offline, so that when you're back online, you have a stronger, more influential stance. The last component that I listed down below is a list of actually Twitter chats. Twitter chats are chat sessions that occur on Twitter, and they focus on a variety of different topics, from writing to space to social media to fishing and things like that. So you could actually tune in at a certain time throughout the week and communicate with others in real time all over the world that are also fascinated about that subject. Again, this is another way for you to extend your visibility and connect with others of like mind to develop your brand. So when you're first getting started with Twitter, you might feel overwhelmed with having to be almost compelled to write every single minute of every single hour just because there's a lot of communication that's happening on Twitter. There's actually been some research done throughout the course of the existence of Twitter to really isolate the key periods of when people are most active. So if you only had a certain time period throughout the day, it's been recommended that between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the most ideal time to communicate on Twitter. Anything after 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's when the communications start to bubble. They also notice that between 8 p.m. and 9 a.m. in the morning, the communications tends to dwindle for a variety of different reasons. The times that are indicated are all Eastern Standard Time because this is generally the time zone of business. So they also did that analysis of which time zone is most appropriate. Now, these are just some guidelines. At the very bottom, I indicate that your mileage may vary. So it could be that your audience could be on the West Coast, so they could be on Twitter at a later date. So you have to take all these things, especially data about social media, with a grain of salt. Next, I wanted to highlight some tools that will be extremely valuable to you. You don't have to use all of them, but I did want to just highlight the benefits of using these in conjunction with each other. I've already mentioned Bitly, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but let me go through some of them, starting from the left-hand side. Nutshell Mail is a passive way to engage or interact with Twitter, and what it is pretty much a email digest, letting you know all your new followers, all the people that have stopped following you. If you're following lists, it gives you the top 20 tweets from the list that you are following. And what this is good for is, again, if you're just getting started, you might feel overwhelmed with having to be on Twitter every single minute of every single hour. So what this does is that you could schedule a time to receive this digest, and from within that email you could actually follow people back and engage in conversation. So it's a very passive approach to engaging with Twitter. The other item under Nutshell Mail is this application for the iPhone, and this application is called Boxcar. And what this does is it lets you get notifications anytime someone references you or a subject or a particular keyword that you're interested in. So again, if you're not on and if you don't want to be on Twitter all the time, you could have this notification come to your phone, you could respond, and it makes it appear that you're always on. And this is very important because your audience, your following, will grow the more attentive and the more conversations you have with them. The other items, Buffer app allows you to actually buffer your communications or delay the time in which you send out a tweet. And why this is important is that you could actually spend some time early in the morning finding these fascinating blog posts and things like that, and then schedule them throughout the day. So you would appear that you're on for longer than the 1 to 3 p.m. time frame that I mentioned earlier. This also, and the reason why you would do this is if you find 5 blog posts and you send them all out at the same time, you miss the opportunity for people to see the information if your following is, say, on later on during the day. So you want to be able to spread your communications as much as you possibly can without overwhelming your followings. So the other app called Crowd Booster takes into a little bit more the analytics of your tweets, and it lets you know how many people have potentially saw your tweets, how many retweets you get, and it gives you a little bit more analysis as to how to interpret your communications online. It might seem like you're speaking in a vacuum at times, especially if you're just getting started, and this gives you a sense of how receptive your audience is to your messaging. For Bitly, this is a way to track, to not only track how many people have clicked on the links that you've sent out, but it's also a URL shortener. So instead of sending out a very long link, like I referenced earlier, I created this Twitter list and it was very long, so that takes up a lot of characters on Twitter, and Twitter is limited to 140 characters. Bitly shortens it for you so that you could send it out and it doesn't take that much space. It also provides you with analytics as to how many people have clicked on it, where they have clicked on it, and this gives you some feedback as to, again, how receptive your audience is to receiving your messaging. The last component, the last tool I'm going to talk about is TweetReach, and this is another analytic tool that allows you to see not only your communications but also the communications of a particular hashtag or a keyword that people are using online, and it gives you a sense of how many people have potentially seen that particular keyword and also how many people are most active and things like that. Again, most of these tools are more analytics, and these analytics are vital because, again, it just gives you feedback to let you know how your audience is absorbing all your information. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just talking about the value of a retweet, and there's a couple of different reasons why you would retweet. And one of the first is to show support for the individual that you're retweeting. So the more support you show to other individuals, the more support you get back. You also have an implicit endorsement to what they had to say. So again, the more you put into the ecosystem, into Twitter, the more you're going to get back. Comments. So when you send out a retweet, and this is pretty much just passing on a tweet that you received to your audience, you could add your level of expertise, add a comment to that tweet so that people get your perspective on what you're forwarding along, especially if it's coming from someone else. Awareness. Another reason why you would want to retweet something that you might not normally send out is something to make your audience aware. Say if a particular traffic jam that you're in and you want to avoid your followers from getting stuck in that traffic jam, you could communicate that out and you could act as a alert unit. And as you see in the diagram there, the value of a retweet is just to perpetuate and make a bit of information spread as much as possible. Lastly, I wanted to give you a real-world example of a tweet that I sent out a couple of years ago, and this tweet had a lifespan of over a month. The general lifespan of a tweet is about 5 minutes, but the way I crafted this tweet allowed this tweet to last longer because of the fact that I've referenced the various folks. I'm not going to go through all the details of this particular tweet. I just wanted to highlight it. So, Great Boston Foursquare Story is the actual length of the tweet. As you notice there, I started off with something very compelling, the word great. It attracts attention, so I led with that content. I used the hashtag Boston because it allowed me to extend my reach to anyone that was searching for Boston. I included Foursquare because Foursquare is an application that is very popular on social media, and this would attract an audience of people that are interested in Foursquare. It also let Foursquare know that I was sharing a bit of information that they most likely want to share with their audience because it was about them. It was a positive story about them. And last was this, the URL for more information. And as you see, I've customized that link, which you're able to do with Bitly, so it doesn't look too spammy. It doesn't look like a bunch of random codes, which is when you use Bitly, this is what generally tends to happen. They select a random array of characters. So I wanted to make this as simplistic as possible for my audience. All the other references are individuals that were part of the story, and I've included hashtags of chats that I participated in and chats that were very interested in this particular subject matter. So this is just giving you a taste of what you could potentially do. If you're writing an article, say on Boston, you might want to include a hashtag that says Boston. You might want to include the fact that a little bit of what the article has to say. Use this as a reference point to give you kind of a leg up, especially if you're just getting started, as to how to effectively communicate. And keep your tweets as short as possible. As you see, I did it less than 140. The ideal goal is to have it, 125, 130 to give people an opportunity, if they were going to retweet, to add their comments. So I wanted to end off there just to give you a sense of, the who, the what, and lastly, the how of Twitter. So now back to Juliana.
Thank you, Jocelyn. So, once you've gotten comfortable with Twitter and LinkedIn, you can begin connecting these channels to your current work. If you have a blog, adding social media buttons is a great way to engage your existing audience and attract new followers. You can also add a blog link to your Facebook page, connect your Twitter account to your LinkedIn profile, and so on. When you're making connections in the real world, make sure you're giving people every outlet to reach you online. Business cards are perfect for sharing your blog, Twitter, and LinkedIn information. And for those of you who would prefer to network in private, email signatures are an easy way to automatically promote your social media presence. So beyond the fact that sharing your work helps you spread the word about your writing, it also helps spread the word about your clients. At Skyword, we've added Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, and Pinterest fields to your writer profile information so you can stand out from other applicants and appeal to clients like Everyday Health, who have begun to look at social media sharing as a factor in who they accept for a program. What's really cool about the cross-promotion approach is that you're forming an internet blanket. If someone finds you on Twitter, they won't have to search for your blog because the link will be right there. Another cool thing is that Google will aggregate your social media channels. This screenshot is what pops up when someone searches for me. When you take the time to update your channels, you're making a great first impression as a freelancer. But with great power comes great responsibility. Remember that people can see everything you post, so make sure you keep your social sharing professional. And that's a wrap. If you'd like to practice your newfound Twitter skills, tweet us a message containing the hashtag SkywordSocial and we'll tweet back. Feel free to follow or tweet Hoseline also. You can visit Skyword on Facebook to request future webinars if you'd like us to cover other topics that will help you in your freelancing career. On behalf of Hoseline and myself, thank you for attending, and best of luck on the web.